It was a day like any other. A simple hike turned into a nightmare. With each step deeper into the woods, the sun's warmth faded, swallowed by the thickening trees, which twisted like gnarled fingers reaching for the sky. Time seemed irrelevant as the terrain became treacherous, and a sneaking sense of dread settled in. The cheerful chirping of birds transformed into ominous whispers, teasing the edges of sanity with their haunting echoes. Panic surged as the realization struck. The familiar trails had vanished. Each corner turned revealed nothing, but more shadows stretching and contorting in the dim light. The once inviting paths transmogrified into a labyrinth of fear, and with every echoing footstep, it felt as if something unseen was closing in, hungrily tracking the lost wanderer. Anxiety pierced the heart like the chilling wind that brought an unsettling silence to the woods. The last vestiges of daylight ebbed, plunging everything into suffocating darkness. As night descended, the forest came alive, with sinister sounds, the snapping of twigs, rustling of leaves, and distant growls seemed to conspire against the fugitive soul. Each sound reverberated through the hollow spaces as if the very woods breathed in synchrony with the rising terror. Shadows loomed closer, and the towering trees appeared to shift, their bark twisted into grotesque faces. A primal fear took root, urging the soul to run, yet paralyzing every limb with the weight of dread. Nervously, hope flickered like the last fight of a dying flame. Suddenly, a flicker of light emerged from the dense thicket. Desperate for escape, the lost one staggered toward it, heart racing with naive optimism. But as the flickering grew closer, the warmth transformed into a dreadful chill. The light revealed itself as soot-stained figures, twisted and cackling as they beckoned with skeletal hands. Realization struck with horrifying clarity. These were not guides leading to safety, but sinister denizens of the night, reveling in the despair of the lost. With a surge of adrenaline, the lost soul bolted, racing through the darkness, branches clawing at skin and whispering into ears, "You'll never escape." Shadows danced cruelly in the periphery, laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves as the illumination faded behind. The encroaching darkness tightened its grip, the sinister figures slipping into obscurity, yet their monstrous presence loomed ever closer, feeding off the unyielding fear, reminding that sometimes the woods do not simply let you go, they claim you as theirs. Nestled deep in the woods, Anna and Lucas believed they had found their sanctuary. The quaint cottage, supposedly a haven from the chaos of the world, stood silent, adorned with nature's embrace. It was more than just a home. It was a dream realized after years of yearning for tranquility. Yet beneath the serenity lay an unspoken dread, a sinister presence lurking just beyond their perception. Upon settling in, Anna's curiosity led her to the basement. There it was, a door, shrouded in mystery, concealed behind the mundane barrier of a bookshelf. Its surface, rough and weathered, bore carvings that danced in the dim light. The symbols seemed to whisper secrets from another realm, vibrating under her touch, sending a tingling chill through her spine. An instinctual warning bubbled within her, urging her to leave it untouched. But the constraints of safety felt weak in the face of such alluring enigma, especially with Lucas by her side. That fateful night, as shadows draped over their sleeping sanctuary, Anna's heart leaped with fear when she awoke to a groan, the unmistakable creaking of that very door. While Lucas remained oblivious in his slumber, a deep pull beckoned her toward the basement, torn between the rationality of staying safe and the primal call of the unknown. She took cautious steps into the dark abyss beneath her home. It was there that she felt it, a claustrophobic chill wrapping around her like an icy shroud, smothering her instincts. The darkness seemed sentient, watching, waiting, with whispers crawling through the air. As she descended, the atmosphere thickened with anticipation. The whispers started. It was a gentle rustle, but soon morphed into haunting words that bled across the silence of the basement, urging her forward with promises of revelation. With her heart racing, Anna found herself gripping the frigid doorknob, her breath mingling with the damp air. There was a split second of hesitation before she succumbed to the primal urge and pushed the door open, unleashing what lay beyond. What lay inside raked against the walls of sanity, a monumental space that seemed to stretch into infinity. Shadows danced amidst a circle of flames, flickering to life, casting grotesque shapes upon the living darkness. In the heart of this chaos stood a being, a living nightmare, a figure formed of obsidian substance, moving with an elegance that mocked its monstrous form. The air crackled as an echoing voice permeated the silence, a recognition dawning upon her. It was the voice of the abyss, twisted yet inviting, as it declared, "You open the door," sealing her fate with those ominous words. In the heart of the forest, where every tree seemed to whisper secrets, a figure wandered aimlessly amidst the tangled underbrush. The towering trees stood like ancient sentinels, their gnarled branches clawing at the air, as if trying to warn of an impending doom. Panic thrummed through the veins, each heartbeat loud and echoing like a drum signaling danger, as twilight enveloped the environment in a chilling embrace. With each step deeper into the darkening wood, the air grew thicker, laden with an eerie silence that left the skin crawling. Shadows danced, shifting only at the corner of the eye, and strange noises ricocheted from unseen creatures hidden within the depths. What was once a vibrant tapestry of nature, now transformed into a labyrinth of despair, where familiar paths twisted like the mind's torment, leaving only confusion in their wake. The thoughts spiraled. Where had the trail gone? Breathless and haunted, they pressed onward, their only companions being the rustling leaves and the weight of unseen eyes tracking every move. The feeling of being watched, of being prey, sent shivers down the spine, igniting a primal fear that simmered just below the surface, urging flight but offering no guidance on where to flee. As darkness descended, the very essence of the forest came alive. Branches cracked and groaned under phantom weight, and the scent of damp earth mingled with an acrid hint of decay. A conclusion dawned, that something malevolent lurked within this place, something that thrived in shadows and fed upon dread. The sky above had been swallowed whole, darkness infiltrating every corner, wrapping tighter around them like a serpent, coiling to strike. Frantic, they stumbled through the suffocating darkness, until a piercing screech echoed through the trees, an unearthly wail that chilled the bones and froze the blood. Feral eyes blinked in the pitch black, glimmering with hunger, as if waiting for a moment of weakness to pounce. The weight of hopelessness pressed down like a grave, and with horror dawning upon them, realization struck. This winding path led only to an inescapable fate, tempting them to surrender to the depths of the whispering woods. The forest had claimed its prey, leaving nothing but echoes of their anguished cries lingering in the suffocating silence. In a secluded town surrounded by dense woods, there existed an old, decrepit house known as Hollow Creek Manor. Legends whispered of its dark past, stories echoing of untold horrors that unfolded within its walls. Most townsfolk avoided the manor, but curiosity beckoned a few brave souls, eager to uncover its secrets. Little did they know, stepping into Hollow Creek would awaken the malevolence that lay dormant. One fateful night, 3 friends dared to enter the manor. Armed with flashlights and bravado, they crossed the threshold, the creaking door sounding like a warning. The air was thick with a musty smell, remnants of lives lost long ago. As they ventured deeper, the flickering light cast eerie shadows that danced upon the walls, revealing faded images of a family who once inhabited the house. Their eyes seemed to follow the intruders. A sense of foreboding filled the air, as they heard whispers echo through the hallways, beckoning them further in, luring them to their doom. Suddenly the atmosphere shifted. An overwhelming sense of dread enveloped them. They discovered a hidden room lined with dark, chilling artifacts, remnants of a sinister past. Old photographs depicted gruesome scenes, lingering screams etched into each frame. In the corner lay a blood-stained journal, detailing horrific events, rituals of sacrifice, and unthinkable acts committed by a deranged family seeking immortality through terrors unimaginable. The friends exchanged fearful glances, realizing they had unleashed something far beyond their comprehension. With a spine-tingling chill coursing through their veins, they turned to leave, only to find the exit barred. Panic set in as they heard footsteps echoing behind them, accompanied by a sinister, low laughter that sent waves of terror crashing through their hearts. One by one, they were picked off, dragged into the shadows, as screams pierced the silence. The walls absorbed their cries, trapping their souls forever within the manor's cursed embrace. In the light of day, the friends were never found, their disappearance adding another chapter to Hollow Creek's grim history. Locals whispered warnings, avoiding the manor and its dark secrets, but every so often the winds carried faint screams through the trees, reminding any who dared approach of the horrors that lingered, forever haunting the land and feeding on the curiosity of the living. It started as a mere hike, a chance to escape the mundane confines of daily life. The trees stood tall, ancient sentinels that seemed to breathe secrets of the earth, yet the deeper footsteps led away from familiar paths and into eerie shadows. With every step the light faded, swallowed by twisted branches and the murmurs of rustling leaves, as if the woods themselves conspired against the unwary traveler. Emboldened by curiosity, the wanderer ventured deeper, ignoring the mounting unease that crawled up their spine. As silence enveloped the surroundings, shadows danced mockingly at the edge of vision. The laughter of friends, echoes of life, faded into the haunting stillness. It felt as if the woods were holding its breath, watching, waiting. It was then, atop a knoll, that a chill stirred the air, and a sensation of being watched gripped the heart tight. The normal sounds of nature had vanished, leaving a profound quiet that made the skin prickle. A sudden crack of a branch shattered the silence, sending eyes darting towards the source, heart hammering like a war drum. Was it just a deer, or something far more sinister? Panic clouded their thoughts, and the conscious mind urged them to turn back. But the endless tangle of trees seemed to shift, paths altering in ways that defied logic. Every try to retrace steps led only into deeper darkness, deeper isolation. It felt as though the woods were alive, toying with its captive. The sensation of being hunted frostbitten nerves, turning every rustle into the sinister patter of footsteps. Nights fell unrelentingly, draping the woods in darkness more profound than the abyss. Fear turned tangible, manifesting as shadows whispering secrets that chilled the soul. It was no longer simply being lost. It was a game played by entities unseen, their presence felt in the prickling of hair on the back of one's neck. An overwhelming realization dawned. There was no way out. The very trees waved their gnarled limbs, mocking escape as an impossibility. Desperation rose like bile, and hoarse cries echoed, muffled by suffocating darkness, swallowed into oblivion. As morning approached undefined, a vision marked by decay emerged between trunks. An abandoned campsite bore silent witness to the lost who came before. Yet no solace lay there, only the chilling acknowledgement that the true horror of the woods was not merely getting lost, but being consumed entirely, resting with the whispers that would feed on fear, trapped forever as new footsteps wandered in, unaware of the fate that awaited them. As the last echoes of familiar sounds faded into the dense foliage, a chilling silence enveloped the woods. Shadows curled around the towering trees, distorting the landscape into a nightmarish realm. With each hesitant step, unease tightened its grip, gnawing at the very core of sanity. It wasn't just the cold that sent shivers down the spine. It was the palpable weight of unseen eyes, lurking just out of sight. Panic surged through the heart, quickening the pulse to a frantic beat. The path, once clear and inviting, was now a treacherous maze of twisted roots and gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, swallowed by the darkness. Every rustle of leaves sparked dread, a relentless reminder that fear thrived in this forsaken place. Whispered rumors of the lost whispered through the mind, tales of wanderers who never found their way back, their souls absorbed by the forest. Suddenly a blood-curdling scream shattered, the stillness echoing through the trees, reverberating like a haunting refrain. A primal instinct to flee ignited the legs, but where to run? Every direction met with ominous shadows, twisting paths leading deeper into despair. Hyperventilation painted the air with terror. As the realization set in, it wasn't just the woods that were alive. Something dark and sinister thrived among the trees, a hungry force that relished in the disorientation of those who dared to intrude. In an attempt to escape, frantic footsteps pounded against the earth, yet the sensation of being followed overshadowed the fleeting hope of safety. The atmosphere thickened with despair, a heavy blanket muffling sounds, until they warped into an eerie symphony of sighs and murmurs. The wind howled through the branches, carrying a scent of decay, the unmistakable aroma of forgotten lives, an invitation to join their ranks. Just when despair threatened to consume the last vestige of light, an eerie glow emerged through the thicket, a beacon of hope or a lure into an even darker abyss. Driven by a desperate yearning for safety, the choice was made, a reckless plunge into the unknown. Yet as the light wrapped around, anticipation turned to horror. The realization hit, not all light brings salvation. Sometimes it entangles you deeper into the shadows, becoming a haunting echo of the choices made in fear. The thick canopy loomed ominously overhead, cloaking the forest in an unsettling darkness that felt alive. Each step into the tranquility of the woods whispered warnings. Yet curiosity propelled the journey further. Into the depths, shadows danced between the trees, elongated and twisted, mimicking the fears buried deep within. Soon the path disappeared, swallowed whole by the dense underbrush, leaving a disorienting silence that pressed against the ears like a heavy fog. Panic began to claw at reason, the realization that there was no way back starting to sink in. Branches rustled menacingly in the thickened gloom, suggesting a presence just out of sight. The primal instinct to survive battled the chill creeping up the spine, as dim shapes shifted behind the trunks, never daring to reveal themselves. Whispers echoed in the silence, an unintelligible language that wrapped around the mind, planting seeds of dread and confusion. Time became an abstract concept. Moments stretched and warped. The forest seemed to close in, branches reaching with greedy fingers, tangling in hair and clothes, as if the woods themselves were attempting to ensnare the lost soul. Each rustle became more than just wind. Every snap of a twig ignited the imagination, conjuring images of lurking horrors. The rhythmic beating of a heart echoed in solitude, a reminder of life amidst the haunting abyss. Night descended, plunging the woods into inky blackness. The cold clung to skin, chilling bones, and every breath came in frantic bursts. Tripping over roots, the descent into madness beckoned, urging to embrace the dread rather than fight it. A glimmer of hope peering through the branches was just an illusion, a trick of a mind unraveling in terror. The woods whispered secrets, and shadows seemed to leer, surrounding with a malevolent intent, drawing instinctive screams from the throat. Desperation morphed into desperation, darkness nibbling at sanity, until finally clarity slipped away. Faint laughter echoed, a cruel mockery startlingly close, wrapping arms around the head in a futile defense against unseen eyes watching. The forest closed tighter, a living cage of terror. The heart pounding in the chest became a countdown to an inevitable doom, a warning against those who dared to wander into the grasp of the woods. There's an unsettling feeling in the air, as the trees loom overhead, their gnarled branches intertwining like skeletal fingers stretching out into the void. The deep green of the foliage melds into shadows that seem alive, wrapping around a figure who stumbles deeper into the heart of the forest, desperately trying to retrace steps that dissolve into the dense underbrush. Each echo of rustling leaves sends shivers down the spine, reminiscent of whispers woven into the fraying sanity of the lost. Panic creeps in, consuming rational thought, as the protagonist questions the choices that led them into this suffocating maze. The pathway that once appeared familiar now twists grotesquely, revealing gaps in the air where silence reigns, broken only by the distant call of something unseen and undeniably sinister. The further they wander, the more oppressive the atmosphere becomes, the shadows shifting in unnatural ways that suggest a presence ever watchful. An unseen predator lurks, its breath heavy on the nape of the neck, filling the air with an unbearable tension, thick enough to choke on. Every snap of a twig, every scurry of a creature sends a jolt of adrenaline coursing through their veins. It's as if the very woods are conspiring against them, their branches closing in with malicious intent, separating them from any hope of escape. As night descends upon the realm of twisted trees, a suffocating darkness envelops everything. Pervasive silhouettes morph and meld, distorting reality into a landscape of nightmares. Panic escalates into a frantic desperation, only fueled by the realization that the forest seems to shift and twist, rejecting their attempts to flee. Ghostly figures flicker at the edge of vision, their hollow eyes glinting with eerie malevolence, as if beckoning them to surrender to the abyss. In a chilling moment of clarity, the lost soul understands. This is not merely a physical entrapment. It is a haunting of the mind and spirit. As shadows converge, they become aware of the ancient entities that thrive within the darkness. With one last cry for salvation, hope slips entirely away, swallowed by the consuming void of despair that thrives in the heart of the woods. And just like that, they vanish, lost forever. In a tale as old as the trees themselves, where the only sound left is the wind mourning, the absence of those who dared to tread too far. The woods loomed thick and oppressive, trees twisted and gnarled, their skeletal branches clawing at the stagnant air. With every step deeper into the forest, the whispers of the wind grew more sinister, swirling secrets and shadows that seemed to beckon her off the narrow path. She had been hiking alone, a simple escape from the clamor of everyday life. But as moments turned into hours, the familiar trail disappeared behind her, swallowed by a sea of dark foliage. Panic surged through her veins as the realization sank in that she was utterly lost. The world around her morphed into a nightmarish landscape, every twisted root and hidden burrow a potential threat. Silencing her breath, she moved cautiously, the rustle of leaves beneath her feet echoing like thunder in the silence. Suddenly, a chilling rustle emerged from the underbrush, a foreboding sound that froze her in place. Heart racing, she strained her ears, desperately trying to discern if it was merely the wind or something far more malicious lurking nearby. As night enveloped the woods, a cold fog snaked around her ankles, its tendrils wrapping tightly, as if trying to pull her under. The darkness became alive with noise, the crack of branches, the skitter of unseen creatures, a distant echo of laughter that sent icy tendrils creeping up her spine. A shiver coursed through her as she recalled the tales of those who vanished without a trace, now just memories feeding the trees. She stumbled backward, coming face to face with a pair of glimmering eyes watching her intently from behind the foliage. Unblinking and unnatural, fear turned to desperation, and she ran, feeling the ground shift beneath her. The woods whispered in a language only they understood, enthralling her with deceitful paths and labyrinthine routes. Each turn brought her deeper into a realm where shadows danced mockingly, leading her into a sinister embrace. Exhaustion weighed heavy, limbs trembling and mind fraying at the edges. The laughter grew louder, echoing through the trees, as if the woods themselves relished in her. Terror, relishing in the chase, and then silence, a profound stillness enveloped her as she tumbled into a clearing. She collapsed to the ground, panting and paralyzed with dread. Unbeknownst to her, the trees leaned closer, their bark rough against her skin like 1,000 icy fingers. From the darkness, twisted figures began to emerge, grotesque forms against the backdrop of the oppressive night. The woods had claimed another soul, and as she looked up, the shadows swallowed her screams, leaving only the haunting whispers of her fate echoing among the trees. It was a day like any other, when a solitary trekker wandered too far into the woods, drawn by the whisper of unseen paths and the rustle of secrets hidden beneath the canopy. With each step deeper into the abyss of trees, an unsettling silence enveloped, wrapping around them like a suffocating shroud. The once comforting sounds of chirping birds faded, replaced by an eerie stillness that sent shivers racing down their spine. Unbeknownst to the wanderer, the forest was alive, pulsing with an ancient malevolence that lurked within every shadow. Time warped as they stumbled further, the trees growing thicker, their gnarled branches twisting like skeletal fingers, seemingly reaching out to ensnare the lost soul. Panic surged as they realized the path behind had vanished, replaced by a labyrinth of underbrush, and faint whispers began to echo amidst the stillness, words indistinguishable yet laced with malice. As twilight descended, the world transformed into a grotesque portrait of terror. Shadows danced hungrily among the trunks, and the ground beneath quaked with the mischievous laughter of the hidden. The air thickened with the scent of decay, a chilling reminder of what lurked just beyond the reach of sight. Heart racing, the wanderer pressed on, each crack of a twig underfoot sounding like a death knell, each rustle of leaves a warning from the creatures of the night. An icy wind swept through the trees, carrying with it an unsettling feeling of being watched. Succumbing to dread, the trekker called out, voice trembling, and yet swallowed by the oppressive darkness. But the only response was the echo of their own words mocking, as if the forest itself relished their despair. Footsteps crunched closer, growing louder, forcing a gut-wrenching realization that something or someone was hunting, stalking them through the night. In a futile attempt to escape, they turned frantically, breath coming in ragged gasps. The darkness wrapped around them, drilling into their mind, overwhelming reason with primal fear, fantasies of freedom twisted into nightmares, as they caught a glimmer of eyes reflecting malevolently from the shadows. The wanderer knew then that they were not just lost. They were prey trapped in a nightmarish game orchestrated by an unseen hunter, forever entwined with the cursed woods, where hope faded and terror thrived. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting elongated shadows through the trees. As the chilling breeze whispered warnings, a sense of unease settled in, as footsteps echoed on the damp, leaf-covered ground, each step leading deeper into the heart of the unforgiving woodland. With every glance backward, the trail that once marked familiarity faded into a distant memory. As the darkness enveloped the forest, the fragile threads of sanity began to unravel. A sudden rustle sent a shiver down the spine. The eyes of unseen creatures lurking in the thick underbrush filled with malice. The air grew thicker, heavy with an oppressive silence that swallowed any chance of comfort. Every crack of a twig sounded like the impending doom drawing closer. Hours melted into an eternity as panic surged through the veins. A flashlight flickered, casting haunting images of gnarled branches and twisted roots that twisted like skeletal fingers reaching out for help, for company in their desolation. Frantic whispers echoed through the trees, words drowned in a heavy mist, leaving only a chilling feeling of being watched. A stomach-churning sensation gripped the heart, knowing that something other than the shadows was creeping closer. In the distance, a faint glow flickered. Hope or a trap? Stepping out of the thick undergrowth, a fire danced in a small clearing. But the figures around it were not merely strangers, their eye sockets hollowed, their grins too wide. They whispered sweet nothings to the void, inviting the lost soul to join their never-ending revelry. Closer, ever closer. The heat radiated warmth that felt unnatural, an allure to step forward, yet a primal instinct screamed to escape. But the woods had other plans. The ground shifted underfoot like living flesh, roots curling like serpents around ankles, pulling the lost deeper into the abyss. The laughter echoed persistently, driving the mind to the brink of madness. Panic surged with every step taken, gripping tighter with every whimper and plea for mercy. A glint of a blade under the now brilliantly beaming moonlight flashed ominously, the realization striking, and it had never been a rescue. It was an invitation to darkness, to join the forever lost. With a heart hammering like a war drum, the choice shattered the will to stay and join the grotesque celebration, or to run aimlessly, forever trapped in the unending dark. And so, the forest stood silent and waiting, forever holding its secrets close, ensnaring the faint cries of the lost, forever echoing within its shadowed embrace.